If you are watching this video right now, then I think it is safe to say that you want better. You want to feel better, you want to think better, you want to have better, so that you can live better for this short time that you are here on this planet. And although in most of my videos, I teach you these things, how to have, think, feel, and live better, there have been some key teachings that I have been teaching about in different ways, shapes, and forms throughout many of the videos. You've probably seen some similar themes coming up. And so I wanted to round some of these up into one talk today about some key things that will make a big contribution towards us feeling better, living better, having better, experiencing better for our lives. And so that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to talk about 6 particular ways to get more out of life, to have better for your life. And they're probably ones that are maybe a little bit surprising. Some of them do run a little bit deeper. And so I just want you to be aware that if you're like, wow, like that felt like a lot, that to just start with one. If you're like, wow, that list was a bit intense. I don't know how to do all of this. You don't have to, and you're not expected to. The biggest changes for us happen one key shift at a time. And so if you just take one thing from this talk today and be like, you know what, I'm going to be more intentional about working on this one. And then once you have that one kind of securely under your belt and you're like, yep, this is sort of my new normal now, and this feels more natural for me, then move on to something else. Come back to this talk again and go and, re-listen, and you're going to get something different out of it. You're going to be in a different place. You're going to take something else and then start working on that one. But don't, like with anything, putting all the pressure and all the expectations and that perfectionist overachiever thinking that you have to do it all and be it all and accomplish it all and achieve it all immediately, it's just going to leave you feeling stressed out and overwhelmed. And what our brains do when they're stressed out and overwhelmed is they shut down and do nothing. So that is not going to be helpful. What is going to be helpful is letting yourself do less more often with more consistency. So we're going to talk about this in just a minute. If you're new here, welcome to our incredible little corner on the internet. Take a second, introduce yourself in the comment section below if you are back again. It's always good to have you. And if my shifters are here, make sure you say hello in the comments. Love having you shifters here watching these. And then come check in our Facebook group, in our Shift Society Facebook group, about something you took away from this as well. We can have more of a discussion about that. Either way, my name is Kristina, and I am a registered clinical therapist, a researcher, a coach, and the creator of, like I just mentioned, the Shift Society, where we are taking this work to a deeper level and having discussions and being coached along the way and doing it all in community, so we're not alone. And you can get more information about the Shift Society in the description below. I help heart-centered humans break through the crap that is holding them back so that they can like themselves and their lives more every day. And I think most of us want better for our lives. Not under the delusion that we're going to get to a place where everything is perfect and it's just smooth sailing from there on out. That is perfectionist thinking. That's not realistic thinking. Being human comes with ups and downs and backs and forths and joy and pain and suffering and ease. And that is just part of the whole gig of being human. We can't avoid any of the more challenging things, but what we can do is get better at navigating them. And I said we can't avoid them. We can avoid some of them. We can't avoid all of them. Just to clarify that life never promised to be easy for anyone. We can both get better, though, at navigating challenges, and we can be intentional about doing things that are going to probably prevent unnecessary pain and suffering and challenges. But then, of course, there are some that we can't avoid. So then we learn how to navigate those better and how to navigate ourselves better through the bigger challenges in life and even just the everyday ups and downs that come with being a human being. So let's get into this and let's talk about these 6 key things that will not just make your life better, but will also make it easier. And the first one is to learn how to manage your emotions. Now, I'm not saying that you need to control your emotions in the way that you're supposed to be able to stop yourself from ever feeling any difficult, challenging, or quote unquote negative emotion. That's just not possible because all emotions are human emotions and it just comes with being human. So don't feel like if you're not happy or positive or grateful or joyful all the time that you're somehow failing as a human, because again, that's just not possible. But what we want to do is not be controlled by our emotions. We're not trying to control our emotions, but we're trying to not let ourselves be controlled by our emotions. So what does that mean? What am I talking about? Let me give you an example. Let's say someone says something to you, like they say, oh, like you didn't do a very good job of this. You could have done a better job. And then we have a big emotion. Either we feel angry or hurt or upset or ashamed or something like this. We have kind of taken what they said, we've interpreted it in a way, we've had a thought about that means something bad about us. And so then we get a big emotional reaction to that and we might lash out back at them and be like, well, you never do anything right, or you're just an idiot, or you don't know what you're talking about, or you're a terrible person and you make mistakes all the time too, right? And we just end up lashing out and maybe it turns into a big thing and this big argument and it just kind of creates some damage in the relationship, right? And then we have to go and repair it. We have to work it out. We have to sort it out, or else we just like stuff it, put it aside, and end up becoming kind of resentful and angry. And it can cause problems in our relationships. And so then what do we do instead? If we don't want anybody controlled by our emotions, it's not to say that whatever you're feeling is a wrong feeling. If someone says like, hey, you could have done better on this, and you have the thought, oh my gosh, this person is calling me down and calling me an idiot and basically saying that I'm useless. Now I'm hurt or I'm angry, right? And then of course, if I'm having those feelings, then if that's how I'm interpreting what they're saying, then of course I'm going to have those feelings. But it doesn't mean that, of course, now I have to act on those feelings, right? I don't have to say something in the moment. I can work on managing my emotions so that I can show up intentionally and I can respond in a way that I want to, not just sort of letting my unconscious brain react. I can consciously take a step back and choose how I want to respond. So working on emotional management is a lot about embracing the pause, embracing the break, taking a step back. And I promise you, this does get easier the more you do it. At first, it might take a little while. You might feel a little bit unnatural. And, you might just like need to take a few minutes to process what's going on before you reply to the person. But that's okay. Sometimes you can even say like, I just need a minute. Let me get back to you on that. Or, I can't have this conversation right now, but let's talk about it in a few minutes. And then you go and you process what you're feeling. And then you can decide how you want to respond to that person. So you might take a step back and be like, okay, what's happening for me right now? What's coming up for me right now? I didn't like what they said. It brought up an emotion. Why am I feeling this way? And then really kind of getting that clarity around that. And this is a process that we go through in the Shift Society. And I teach you exactly how to do this. And then also the next step is, how do I want to respond? Right? How do I want to show up intentionally in this with a managed mind, with managed emotions? And again, this doesn't mean we just sort of say, oh, well, it's no big deal. Like, just let it go. Just don't let it bug you. No, we don't do that. We know that that doesn't work. Just letting it go or just not letting it bug you is just a fancy way of repressing our emotions instead of getting clear on them and then deciding how we want to show up or respond to whatever it is that happened, right? In the same way, not letting our emotions control us. If we're like, you know what, like, I've got this dream or this goal that I have and this business that I want to start, or go back to school for this thing, or, volunteer to be on the board of this organization. But, I'm feeling scared. I'm feeling apprehensive. I'm having the thought that I'm not good enough. And that's making me feel hesitant, right? And so then being like, okay, I'm going to act on those feelings and I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to let myself take that action. I'm not going to step into my life in that way and letting our emotions control us like that, right? Instead of taking a step back and being like, okay, what's coming up for me right now? Why am I feeling unqualified? Why am I not feeling good enough? Let's look at this. Let's break it down and dissect it, and let's see where the truth is and where the lies are. And then I can, talk to myself and talk myself through this to a point where I am deciding to take action, and that I am deciding to make that choice because I've managed my emotions around. I'm not being controlled by my emotions. So that's going to be a key. That is one of the biggest, if not the biggest key to having a better life, to having an easier life, is to not let ourselves be dictated by our emotions. Now, it's not to say that we can't sometimes make decisions, or even often make decisions, that are based on some feelings, right? If you go into Starbucks and you're like, I kind of feel like a caramel macchiato, right? Or, if you go into, if you go into Target and you're like, I feel like I need some multivitamins in my life, some extra multivitamins, so I'm going to buy some multivitamins, whatever that is. You're allowed to make decisions based on some feelings that are really going to have no negative impact on anyone. Right? And I remember this was maybe a bigger decision, but this was a few years ago. I was at a business conference, and at the business conference, there was an offer to join this sort of smaller mastermind group where there'd be more individualized attention, where there'd be more of a sense of community, where there'd be more resources for people. And I really was interested in joining this smaller group. Now, logically or rationally, I couldn't tell you what the direct impact was going to be on my business growth by joining this group. I didn't know. I didn't know what the bottom line was. But I kind of just had this feeling that I wanted to join this. I wanted to be with other like-minded people. I wanted to expand my mind and learn from different experiences, and kind of be among other people doing the same things to kind of keep me motivated and focused and enthusiastic about what I was doing. And I just had this feeling that this is what I wanted to do. That wasn't necessarily had all of these, line by line list of all of the quantifiable benefits of it. But I could tell you that it felt like the right thing to do. It felt like something that I wanted. And so I did make that decision more based on a feeling rather than any kind of guaranteed outcome. I'm just this just feels right. And so, yes, when it comes to emotions, it's okay for those of us who are more emotional people. It's great to let your emotional state impact your decision if it's going to end up with a result, or likely to end up with a result that you want. But if you're letting fear impact your decision, especially if it's not something, yes, letting fear impact your decision if it's about, walking on a tightrope between two 20-story buildings with no safety net underneath, that's probably, that fear that you feel is probably a good influencer on that decision. But I'm talking about the things that you want that aren't going to result in your utter demise, that you are letting kind of the fear hold you back from it, but it's actually something that you want that's going to be good. Not letting that emotion dictate it. So building that emotional intelligence, that is what we do in the Shift Society. And I teach you how to get in charge of your mind and emotions so that you can be showing up intentionally, so that you can be living intentionally and loving intentionally and having intentionally. So that is what we do. You can get more information about the Shift Society in the description below. The next thing that is going to make your life better is being willing and open to learning. Our human brains were designed for experimentation, for experience, for growth, for expansion. That's what our human brains love. We are creative, interesting human beings that have all of this capacity. But sometimes we just sort of get stuck in our own ways. We get stuck in our own ideas. We get stuck in our own ways of seeing things, and we're not open to learning. And sometimes it can feel threatening, right? Learning something different can shake up what we already know, and it can kind of turn some things over, and it can put some of our ideas on their heads, and that can be uncomfortable. That kind of change can be difficult for the human brain. But life is so much richer when we are open to seeing things differently, when we are open to learning, when we are open to other perspectives and ideas. It doesn't mean you have to accept all of them or even agree with all of them, but just being open to them is going to give you a more rich and rewarding experience to see things from different perspectives. And then the next thing that is going to make your life better is letting yourself deeply connect with other human beings. And I know that this can be a difficult one, especially for those among us who have been hurt or betrayed, or trust has been broken in the past. It can make it really scary to let ourselves get close to people, because when we open ourselves up, we become vulnerable to them hurting us, right? If we don't let ourselves get close to someone, then it's not going to hurt so much. If they betray us or hurt us, it's not going to hurt as much. But the truth is also, we are not going to get that richness and fullness of human connection if we don't take that risk. As the psychologist and kind of forefather of modern psychology, Alfred Adler, said, genuine human connection is as essential to our survival as air and water. And yeah, it can feel scary. And yeah, letting ourselves love and get close to someone can hurt. And yeah, not everyone is always going to be available for what we want from them, but still letting ourselves find those people that are, and letting ourselves get close to those people that are, and also accepting that there are going to be things that happen and people are going to hurt us, right? People are going to disappoint us, but it doesn't mean that we have to write them off immediately if they do. To let other people be imperfect beings just as we want them to let us be imperfect beings. To create space for other people to be human, in the hopes that they will also create space for us to be human, to be able to work things out and talk about things and have tough conversations. To let ourselves build true emotional intimacy with other human beings. It doesn't have to be huge groups of them. If you have one or two people that you let yourself be close with and let them, let yourself be close with and let them be close with you, it is going to give you a more rich and rewarding experience in life. And it might bring up more pain in life, but there's going to be both sides of it. There's going to be more joy and more love and more fulfillment, but there is also going to be probably more pain and disappointment that comes with that as well. But we take both of it. We take both sides of it because that is part of living a better, richer, and more fulfilling life. The next way to get more out of life is to be willing to listen and to not always just focus on being heard. So many of us, and it's just sort of natural human tendency, is that we want so badly for other people to hear us, to get us, to see us, to understand us. And that is important. And that is a key part of relationships, of feeling valued and connected and loved, is to feel like we are at least somewhat understood, although no human being will ever understand fully what it's like to be another human being because they don't share the same brain. But also, as much as we want that from others, being able to give that to others. Being able to listen to them, being able to seek to understand them. And one of the best parts of my job is that I get to see human beings for who they really are. Human beings in their raw authenticity. Human beings who are not pleasing or perfecting or performing. Well, maybe they are sometimes in the first couple sessions until they realize that that's not going to be helpful for their process. And then they let that stuff go. And they start to show up more genuinely. And I can tell you without a doubt and without exception who people truly are outside of all these masks that we put on that we think are going to make us good enough, but who we are underneath that as our authentic selves is incredible. It's beautiful. It's amazing. And I get to see that every single day. I get to see who people really are. And it's so interesting that we do all of these things and we put on all of these fronts and we armor up and we protect ourselves in all of these ways because we think we need to in order to be loved, in order to be accepted, in order to be valued. But the exact opposite is true. That it is in our pure authenticity that people see us and connect with us. So being able to see other people for who they are and also let ourselves be seen, seeking to understand and to know just as we want to be understood and known. Another thing that is going to make your life better is to find something or a few things that you really care about, that you're passionate about, And you see these people, you see people who are really into something, that are really into biking or hiking or politics or stamp collecting or meteorology, whatever that is. They're really into something. They're really interested in it and invested in it. And you see how they kind of feel this like connection to something, and they are learning about it, and they are growing it, and they are experiencing it, and they are having this in their life. It doesn't have to be that it's a job that you are passionate about. It can be something outside of your job. It can just be something that you do in your free time or on your weekends, but something that you care about, that you're passionate about, that you like, that you invest yourself in. It doesn't have to be one thing for the rest of your life. It can be some different things, but letting yourself care about something, letting yourself get excited about something. And for those of you who follow me on Instagram, my Instagram stories, or even, my Facebook stories, you'll see that recently I've started snowboarding again. I used to love snowboarding when I was a teenager in my early 20s. Used to go up to the local mountains all the time, and even, up to some of the like Whistler and some of those bigger mountains and stuff. And I just loved snowboarding. And then it seemed like most of my friends that I snowboarded with either stopped doing it as much, people moved away, people started getting married and having kids, and that just was no longer a priority. So I didn't really have anyone to go with. And then I kind of put it aside and have maybe gone a handful of times in the last 15 years. And then this year, I started doing it again. And I have a friend now that I do it with that's really game to go with me anytime and is, just as into it as I am. And I've started going up to the mountain again. And I've started just strapping on my snowboard and flying down the mountain and being outside and just having fun and feeling free. And it's something that I love. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited about getting better at it and just kind of pushing myself in it and sort of seeing what I can do and trying different things. I'm excited about just going off and just having fun and having a good day. And I look forward to it because I've been doing it more regularly. And I've made that a priority in my life because I'm this is something that I really enjoy, that I really care about. And I'm looking at the weather up on the mountain on a regular basis and being okay, what's the weather going to be like this week? And how much snow are we going to get? And just sort of letting myself care about that. And so that's just something that has added to my life. I'm not saying that snowboarding has solved all of my problems and, completed me in some, unrealistic way. By no means, but it's added a lot to my life. And it has made my life better, something that I really enjoy, that I'm letting myself really care about and be passionate about. So letting yourself find something. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just be something that you like. Let yourself like it. Let yourself pour into it. The next thing that's going to help you get more out of life is to learn how to be resilient. And this is a tough one for a lot of us, is learning how to fall and get back up. Learning how to fail and learn from it. Learning how to take feedback and really just take a step back with it and not take it personally and move through it. Either take the feedback and learn from it, or decide that it's not appropriate or applicable to you and give it back to whoever had that feedback, whatever that feedback looks like. Learning how to be resilient, learning how to get knocked down, but then getting ourselves back up. That is going to make life so much better than letting ourselves get knocked down and then staying down. And being well, then I give up. Well, then I can't do it. Well, then I'm not good enough, or I'm not lovable enough, or I'm not worthy enough, or I'm not competent enough or capable enough, and whatever. This is what this means. And so that's just it. Instead of being okay, this happened. And it might be hard and it might suck and it might hurt, but what do I want to do with that? What do I want to take from that? How do I want to show up after that? And that is my choice. Speaking of, back to our number one with the emotional management, that is so much is what this is about, right? When we get knocked down, we get upset, we get hurt, we get discouraged, we get disappointed, right? And we have all these feelings come up. And then if we're not managing our emotions around it, we can just sort of let those emotions dictate us and give us a reason to quit or give up or to stay stuck. And we let those emotions dictate us instead of being okay, this is what happened. What do I want to do with this now? Which one of these did you find helpful? Which one of these connected with you? Which one, just one, are you going to start working on? If you want some extra help, 2 things. Get on the wait list for the Shift Society so you make sure you get in there when we open up registration. And in the meantime, this is going to give you a big head start and actually change the way you think and feel and show up. Get my book, Drive Your Own Darn Bus. You can get that immediately. You can get it at all major book retailers, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Chapters Indigo. There's just people of all over the world, India and Germany and South America, Brazil. Brazil's in South America, I know that, but I was saying a continent instead of the actual countries. But I'm just trying off the top of my head where I know people have been able to get their hands on this book. So check any major book retailer in your region online. They should have it. You can get your hands on that and start reading that. That is going to give you the step-by-step process to be learning how to manage your mind and emotions every day so that you can think better. And if you can think better, you can feel better. And if you can feel better, you can show up better. And if you can show up better, you can have better. And that's going to teach you that. Get the book, get on the wait list. Let me know your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you got something out of the video, if I can ask you to like the video, that would be amazing. Helps get in front of more eyes, teaches people these tools that are perhaps a little bit less common than other things you may have heard about how to make your life better. But these are some of the deeper ones that are going to make a deeper, more lasting, more significant impact. Always good to have you here. Take good care of yourselves. Take good care of those around you. See you soon.